Bring us up, please.
You're up, Commissioner.
All right. We are now in session as the Bannock County Commissioners. I'd ask for a motion to go into the Board of Equalization.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we go into the Board of Equalization.
We have a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So the first one we have today is Curtis Perry or Chase Perry?
Yeah, either. I have Curtis Perry on here.
Okay. I just
Looks like both on the appeal.
was seeing if anybody was here. So first, let's go ahead and swear everyone in that's going to participate in the hearing today.
Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, this is the old assisted living center up there.
Yeah,
across
the
from
former Safe Haven site.
Or LA, I guess now.
And with this one, shortly after the current owner purchased it, they reached out with a lot of questions about how, they were an investor from California. They wanted to know how do property taxes work and all that. So we've had a few conversations with them over the years. Shortly before they bought it, we had determined that we went on a tour of the property, and we were unaware at the time the entire basement was still there. You couldn't see it from street level, but the entire basement concrete infrastructure, all of the inventory, everything was still there. And so the owner at the time had gotten a bid from a local contractor in the amount of $200,000 to remove all that concrete and all that effectively garbage at that point that was in there. So we had made the decision to lower the value of that land with that $200,000 cost to cure. When we determined that it had finally been removed, as far as the full remediation, the lot was returned to a bare dirt lot ready for development. That's when we removed the $200,000 discount, and that was for the 2023 assessment. So that's when it went back up to the full $1 million rate, which is $8 per square foot. That's the rate that we have for all the commercial land right there, Hospital Way, kind of end to end. And I believe that's the same rate we have up on that upper center area between the interstate and Hospital Way. When we looked at sales, there's not a lot of sales that have happened up there recently, but there have been a few. So from an assessment standpoint, they're all the same at $8 a square foot. But from a sales standpoint,
I'm sorry, how much did you say?
$8 a square foot.
Okay.
That's what we have all that commercial land up there at. From a sales standpoint, the two most recent we had up in that area, there is one over in the Tuscany Plaza where the Home 2 Suites Hotel currently sits, and that sold for $8.64 a square foot. The most recent and the closest to the subject property was actually the bare piece of land 2 parcels over, formerly owned by Call Taysom West, with frontage on the street right in front of the children's clinic. That one was, that property had an interesting history. Back in 2021, our initial assessment started at $902,000, and then BOE dropped it down to $686,000, and then the BTA further dropped it down to $321,000, and then they just sold it this past summer for $825,000. So they sold it at a rate of $7.34 a square foot. So when we saw that sale come in and its close proximity to the subject property, yes.
What was the date of that sale?
The date of that sale was July
7/25?
25th, 2022.
Thank you.
So when we saw that come in, we said it stands to reason that $8 a square foot does still seem to be in the realm of reality for what we're seeing up here. And so where the land has been remediated and it is ready for development, we do feel that it's just as developable, if not the most developable piece of land right there. So we do feel that it's still accurately valued.
So your asterisk, the sentence there, where you say it's valued at $949 a square foot with a 20% discount. Explain that to me.
You know, I want to double check something because that sentence may be a carryover from a former spreadsheet.
Okay,
Let me make sure and see if that actually applies to this one or not.
okay. It's justifiable. Why are we giving a 20% discount and then raising it
No,
$9.49?
that's an excellent question.
Just kind of,
Okay, no, it does look like that came from the previous parcels that were analyzed, so that portion is incorrect.
Okay.
It is at $8 a square foot, and there is not any sort of discount applied on there right now.
okay.
So I apologize for
No,
that,
that just kind of threw me off. I just
but thank you for
was
asking.
curious on that one. And then looking at the last few years, like I say, it's kind of the value that had been placed on it since 2017. And then you give the $200 or $200,000 discount for a couple of years when they did all the revamping. So they've had 2 years with that discount. Further questions?
No, I'm happy with that one. Mr. Chair, on parcel RPCPP 110400, I'd make a motion to accept the assessed value.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go to those that were sent back. The first one, it wasn't really sent back, but we give Mr. Jory Trace, the opportunity to come last Friday or to come today. He sent a lot of correspondence, but he's not here. Any comments on this one?
The only comment I would have is based on some of the discussions we had last week about that area as a whole. Do we want to make a general adjustment to that area, which would somewhat give him a little bit of a break as well as the other properties up there that we're talking about?
That's what I've wondered. We talked about the two properties crossed. Yes, ma'am.
We've done some research too, and
Okay.
again, Jason can speak to that when you're ready.
No, let's hear what you have.
Yes, I took a look at the area that the appellant has referred to as the Crystal Springs subdivision. It's not a platted subdivision, but there was a record of survey done, so it sounds like some of the owners referred to it as such. When we looked at that, one of the things that we found is there are a few unique characteristics of this subdivision where you have a non-winter maintained gravel road that leads up to where those lots are. But it's not something that is uncommon for us. We have up the Dempsey Creek area, there are a few subdivisions up there that have a very similar thing where we have actual homeowners that live up on these. I know one homeowner lives about 2/3 of a mile up a private non-maintained road that the neighbors are all in charge of doing. So we see these properties on a pretty regular basis as far as Bannock County goes. We have not so far identified anything as far as data related to sales that show they're necessarily selling at a lower rate on the whole. But as we go through these, and this particular area, I believe, is up for review this next year for 2024. And so as we go through and look at that area with our 5-year cycle, we then look and we say, okay, for this area, are there any unique concerns outside of the standard? And just because it has an access issue potentially, we then say, how big of an area does this contain? And so it is one that we are looking at that whole area this next year for a regular 5-year study.
But I've wondered also, because we've had a few people in this area. The one we give a 10%, or a couple of them give a 10% break.
Due to the topography.
I mean, it's true, when the fire come through this area, it did take away the beauty of the area quite a bit. We did the same over here with the fire and the Charlotte fire and stuff for a while. I don't know. Thoughts?
Nope. As I've thought about that, and I know you guys are getting ready to do an assessment on it, the actual physical assessment this year, and I go back to the couple that we made, and I think it'd be okay if we did like a 10% across the board for that whole area of those lots up there while you did your assessment this year. Just because there were enough concerns and questions that it was, I think there was a reasonable preponderance of evidence to look at that while we go back and do the full assessment this next year. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Is there a way, Commissioner Huff, for you to kind of help us identify on a map of what areas so that we know which ones we're doing what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and it'll take me a few minutes to pull up the parcels, but definitely those 3 that we looked at
Right.
on Friday, and then the others that are connected to that.
Okay.
There's like about 8 of them there on that top of that Crystal Summit Road that I would think would apply.
So it's all of them up the non-winter maintenance road.
Yeah. I would say all the ones that are touching or attached to that non-winter maintenance. I would say all the ones that are not attached, or that are attached to that non-winter maintenance road
Okay.
would be the ones that would receive the discount.
Do you understand what they're saying?
I think so. Can I show you the map I'm looking at?
Yes, please.
So the road, I believe, this is the parcel we're talking about right here.
Correct.
And as this road comes up, the pavement stops here. That's the plow turnaround. So this road comes up right along here.
Yep, so I was thinking all of that stuff right in through there.
So after we hit this turn, these parcels right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So how would you like us to do that, Nancy?
We can identify them for you, and
Yeah, they can send in a list of those parcels.
Okay.
So in talking about this 10% would go to everyone, but except those that have already received the break that we already give.
Correct.
It would just be 10% total, not additional.
That is correct.
right.
That would equalize the ones that we already gave the discount to, and then those around them should be kind of all about the same then.
And then we will be reevaluating in the year 2024 and
Correct.
when it's up for review.
Correct. You
Okay.
okay with that?
Yeah. Make a motion?
All right, Mr. Chair, on the parcels that the assessor will identify and put in the record, in the parcels that are contiguous to the non-winter maintained road, I would make a recommendation that we reduce the value of the land 10%, except for the ones that we've already reduced. How's that? That work?
Okay. We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. What do I got here? Looks like Amber Jimenez. Is that one of them that you have that went back?
Yes.
No change. The area was reviewed. Neighbors are either split entry, not a like property, or have less square feet by quite a bit.
Okay.
Do we have a separate packet on these things?
No, this is just, I kept everything that we sent out, if you want to look at it.
Okay.
So the assessor's recommendation is no change?
No change.
Okay. Mr. Chair, on parcel RPERE 000500, I make a motion that we uphold the assessor's evaluation.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 The next one I have is Nicholas Hoffeld. Northern Lights.
We are not showing Nicholas Hoofeld.
Because I thought we.
Is that?
That was on Thunder Mountain, that was the Thunder Mountain one?
And Justin Bannock.
This, was it on his rental property? Over on 11th and 12th?
The parcel number's Thunder Mountain.
Yeah, it's a-
You
Did-
guys adjusted.
You guys
Did we
remember
adjust
doing
it?
that? Yeah.
did I just not write it down?
Oh, yeah, he was the guy on the edge of the dirt road, yeah.
Okay. Next one I have is Marcy Turner. She's one that had slough instead of a septic system.
We did schedule a reinspection and she called and canceled. So we were not able to go out and reinspect.
Okay. Well, that's the only information she had. So,
Yeah. So,
uphold.
any change of, any recommendation?
No change.
Okay, Mr. Chair, on parcel RPC PP 001802, I make a motion that we uphold the assessed value.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Marty McCarty.
We did go out and do a reinspection. Home was average condition for that year built, so there was no change made. But we did have boots on the ground and physically inspect.
Okay.
So recommendation is no change?
No change.
Mr. Chair, on parcel RPRMHT 2004201, I make a motion that we uphold the assessed value.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next one I have is Dave and Jerry Weiss.
A physical inspection was done. There was damage found, mold, old electrical, water damage. There was a 15% functional depreciation put on the parcel. The proposed correction would be $325,054 for the improvement, leaving the land at 55 for a total of $380,054.
Mr. Chair, on parcel RPCPP 062202, I make a motion that we accept the assessor's recommendation of $380,054.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then the next one I have is Julie Anderson.
Julie Anderson, we had an effective age on her parcel. It had a 1988 foundation with new plumbing and new electrical at that time. There were several homes that were moved into the neighborhood, and her home received the effective age while the others did not. So our recommendation would be to remove that effective age for equity purposes, and that would bring the improvement value in at 166,297, and the land would remain at 60,000 for a total of 226,297.
Mr. Chair, on parcel RPRPP SP 0000200, I make a motion that we uphold the assessed value or assessor's recommendation of 226,297.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
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 All right. Did you have any more?
We have another exhibit that we need to turn in. It's from the ones that we canceled that were BOEs that had already applied for BOE or appealed, and we made corrections, so we have that list here.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, for Exhibit B, or I'd like to enter into the record Exhibit B submitted by the assessor for corrections that they made outside of the official hearings. And I would make a motion that we accept this and the recommendations as attached.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
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 All right. Any others? Okay. That brings us to Portland Health Trust. Couple of things. Brian, our legal, give us some directions of feelings and thoughts, which I don't know if it helped me or confused me. Property leased in part compared to leased in its entirety. The effect of the Idaho Code, Section 602C, is to treat properties leased in their entirety different than those that are leased only in part. Properties owned by charitable organizations that are leased in part may still qualify for the property tax exemption for the portion of the property not leased for commercial purposes. However, properties leased in their entirety do not qualify for a charitable property exemption under any circumstances. And as I look through this, they lease a lot of properties.
That's where I was at, is the definition of charity, and then again, I went back to Brian's last sentence there, and so to me, I don't think we qualify for a lot of these things based on that.
And that was coming from the Idaho Youth Ranch case. I took that section out. I just gave the board snippets of case law from the cases. So the entirety would be 100% in my interpretation. So if it's less than that, then the other analysis will take place.
So on this spreadsheet, did you guys get a copy of that spreadsheet at all?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. And I just starting right at the top. So the first property is 1001 North 7th Avenue, which is City Center. So inside of that, they have conference rooms and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it says here on the end, health services provided at this location include mental health, counseling, court-appointed drug addiction, physician's clinic, pediatric physical therapy, and dental care. Well, the thing that keeps coming into my mind is we have a lot of dental offices out there. We have a lot of doctor's offices out there, and they're all paying taxes. And these guys are paying rent to Portland Health Trust, which means that they're gaining out of it, or the public. I mean, yeah, some of them are at a lower cost, but they're still charging Medicare and Medicaid, and I don't know.
And also this one, now this isn't 100% leased because some of it has their offices.
Correct.
you know.
So that's where the percentage, kind of like the hospital up there, to me, we'd have to figure out the percentage of what would be taxed.
And Mr. Chair, I think I put in there too at the end of, for 63-602C, that any property of such company, corporation, or society, any lease or use of that property for athletic or recreational facilities, residence halls or dormitories, meeting rooms or halls, auditoriums or club rooms within the purposes for which the limited liability company, corporation, or society is organized is not deemed a business or commercial purpose, even though fees or charges imposed can create a revenue.
Yeah.
Just to make sure the board's aware of that.
And that's the one down here where they're associated with ISU. And they do some of those things, so. Anybody mark it up and say, and so the ortho building up here on 2240 East Center Street, they have a parcel plus, I guess, would it be contiguous?
Yeah, it would be contiguous because they're touching.
I mean, have we set that up contiguous?
But I struggle to see where that's even charitable.
Oh, it's not, but I would just say contiguous on the properties if that brought down the property value.
Yeah.
Because it was contiguous. The ortho, that's a doctor's office. We're competing with other people. I mean,
So, Brian, would you just talk about charitable organization and what the definition of charity is and what?
Sure. So, to look at the charitable organization, I mean, there's different factors that the board can consider. I think specifically in the case law that I provided to the board, there was, I believe, 8 criteria, which includes donations, the benefit to the public, patients are being charged, things of that nature, but that's not exclusive. So that's really for the board to look at the purpose of the organization of the LLC or society, things of that nature. So that's really something for the board to look at to see if it's charitable.
your statement here, operator of an elder care facility was not charitable organization, as necessary to qualify for charitable property tax exemption. Functions were not charitable because it was compensated for all services it provided, either by residents or the government.
Which then would strike down just about everything on this list, if you go by that.
Yeah, well, that's an actual case that
That
we're
was an
citing,
actual
right?
case, yeah.
What was the case again? Do you recall?
Not off the top of my head on that one. Let's see. Evangelical Lutheran Good Samaritan Society versus Board of Equalization of Eagle County, 2016.
Well, and then your charitable status of organizations, several considerations that bear upon an organization's charitable status for purposes of property tax exemptions include the stated purpose of its undertaking, whether its functions are charitable, whether it is supported by donations. Well, paying rent is not charitable donations. And that's where it seems like we get a lot of the funds for a lot of this organization.
The house on 12th Avenue, that one I feel is I think that one meets the definition for charity, where they're allowing the people to come and stay there without any rent or anything like that.
Okay,
That one I would agree with.
so that's RPRPPOC048800.
That is
Okay,
correct.
we're all on that one.
But the rest of it, based on that case law, I fail to see where it meets the definition.
And again, those are just some factors the board that the court's pointed that the board can look at, but that's not exclusive, so the board can make the determination on their own from the information provided to it.
And then there was a couple of properties here on the backside, the very last page. The trust has not received assessment notices for these properties. Ordinance Medical Centers for, let's see, that's one. ISU Sports Medicine Building on leased land improvement only account. And then Dr. Bailey Specialized Medics located at this address. The account is for furniture, medicine, equipment. So there's two properties that they haven't received any notice of any kind on, it sounds like.
Yeah, I can speak, the building on leased land, the parcel that starts with LRPD and it ends in 3100.
Mm-hmm.
That particular parcel, when we did everything this year to put value on those for this, that's one that, because it was the leased building on leased land, it slipped through, so they didn't get a notice because it's still $0.
However, we can put it on the subsequent roll if we need to.
Yeah, we do have the building sketched in, so we can account for it.
Okay. It'd be good just to have it on the record, I'd say. And then 151 North 4th Avenue. There's another one that they said they didn't receive anything.
That's a personal property record.
So on this one, this is personal property. We have some value on it, about $10,000, and it's, so with these, with personal property, we set up an owner code for multiple parcels that are owned by the same organization, so that they'll receive their assessment notice. But in this case, when it was set up, the owner code did not get put on there. And so it just shows as a personal property with $10,000, and because it was less than $250, it didn't send out a notice.
Okay. But you say it's personal property, they're saying they own it here.
They own,
That property, Oakdale Hospital LLC.
well, it's equipment, is what it is,
It's just equipment?
yeah.
Okay. So the people they lease it from pay the taxes on the facility?
One, and on their purpose, on their spreadsheet, they do state that the account is for furniture, medical equipment, computers, and software located at that address.
Okay.
But because it falls below that $250,000 mark, that's why they didn't get a notice.
Yeah. But this is just for personal
Right.
property, not for property itself.
Not for real property.
Yeah, not the real property.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, personally, I would like to send this up to the courts for a decision because, again, like we talked about last year, I feel like this has statewide implications. I struggle to see, based on the analysis provided by legal, where a lot of these properties meet the true purpose or the true definition of a charity and a charitable organization outside of the one property that I identified. So, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that all the properties listed on this spreadsheet, we'll call it what, Exhibit A? Does that work for you? Okay. Let's see, they're appealing the denial, correct? Yeah, okay. So all the properties on here except the property that we identified, which is RPPOC 048800, retain their,
Not be granted tax exemption?
retain their non-exempt status. Is that right?
Or uphold your denial.
Uphold the denial. Thank you. That's much cleaner.
That's why we keep it around.
Yeah.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. With that being said, we've come to the end of BOE. So I'd ask for a motion to close BOE.
Mr. Chair, it was with great enthusiasm that I make a motion that we close the Board of Equalization.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Express our gratitude to everyone that has worked hard. We've had not the number of applicants as we've had in the past, but we've had a goodly amount and everybody's worked hard, so thank you for your efforts. And with that being said,
And I'd just like to also add my personal thank you to the assessor's office. You guys have done a fantastic job this year of getting out into the public with multiple meetings, letting the public know how this process works and letting them know that you're willing to work with them. And from what I've seen, you have worked with the members of the public who came into you very well. So I really want to commend all of you on your efforts this year.
Thank you. And it likewise has been a good working relationship with all three of you, and we really do appreciate your whole staff and all that they've done for us as well.
And if I can just echo what you two said, I'm happy.
with that being said,